guys, it's Maria Guild and welcome to my channel. So basically on this channel I talk about all kinds of things that have helped me, inspired me, mom stuff, business stuff. I share my love of decorating. Anyways, today what I wanted to talk about was birth control. Now I know that's definitely a topic that lots of moms and, sorry I'm getting a text message. Lots of moms probably are concerned about or struggle with, but not just moms, women in general. So I wanted to share a little bit of the history of my journey with birth control and my decision actually to get my IUD removed. So basically I have been on some form of hormonal birth control since after the birth of my first son, which was about 17 years ago. So yeah, off and on, that's definitely been a long time to have those hormones in my body. And so basically I had my son, and after I had my first son, well, let me do a little background. When I was a teenager, I definitely struggled with some hormonal issues, and my periods, they were pretty irregular. And I definitely, when I was a teenager, I feel like I had a lot of those hormonal issues. I had the acne, I definitely gained weight and all that kind of stuff. Anyways, after I had my first son though, I felt like my body really kind of balanced itself pretty well. After he was born, I was breastfeeding him, and any weight I gained during the pregnancy, I just completely shed through breastfeeding, which I feel like is the body's natural plan and its way. Like, you know, we gain a little bit of extra weight and we need that to support breastfeeding. So usually when we're breastfeeding, all of that melts away and it's beautiful and it's wonderful. So anyways, after I weaned my first son, I started on hormonal birth control. Because that was kind of the only thing I really knew about. That was what was available to me at the time. I honestly didn't do a ton of research. I was just like very nervous about having another kid so soon, and I definitely wanted to use birth control. So I started on the hormonal birth control, and it worked pretty well for about 6 years. Then I actually ended up getting pregnant again with my daughter on the birth control pill. So, I mean, I'm sure there was some error on my part. Like, you know, with birth control, you have to be very faithful, very regular. You have to take it at a certain time. But I was definitely taking it. I was definitely on it. And then I found out I was pregnant. Okay. So when I got pregnant with her, I feel like my body had some pretty weird reactions, just because I didn't even find out I was pregnant till about 3 months. And I was still taking birth control pills. Anyways, so then I went in, I just felt weird. I went in for a checkup and they were like, oh, well, surprise, you're pregnant. And I'm like, what? How can that be? I'm on birth control. Anyways, apparently I'm super fertile myrtle and not all birth controls work for me. So I had her, and then after I weaned her, I was like, well, I don't trust the pill. Like, I don't want to go back on that. So I started NovaRing, which was another thing at the time, and my doctor recommended that, and they were like, you know, this is a pretty good one because it just goes right inside of you and you don't have to think about a pill every day. So I was like, great, I'll take it. So I got on the NovaRing and I was so careful. I followed their directions to the T, and whoops, sure enough, I ended up getting pregnant again on the NovaRing. So, I mean, I was super happy for all my pregnancies and all my children. I absolutely love my kids. I mean, they are the best thing that's ever happened to me, and I don't regret it for 1 minute. But the fact of the matter is, I did get pregnant with all of my kids on birth control. So, but here's an interesting story. So, with my first son, the breastfeeding, like I just shed all my baby weight and I really slimmed down. Now with my daughter, the one I got pregnant with on the pill, I breastfed her for 10 months and I could not lose an ounce of weight. And I would go for walks every day. I ate very healthy, all that kind of stuff. But the breastfeeding did not help me lose weight at all. And I think that should have been the first like inkling for me that my hormones had become unbalanced and they were a bit out of whack, because they weren't reacting. My body wasn't reacting normally as I had in my previous pregnancy. But the second I weaned her, she was weaned surprisingly at only 10 months. My other kids nursed a lot longer than her, but she didn't seem to love the nursing. She's a very free spirit, and like the close proximity to nursing, like she used to push herself away, like she wasn't a fan of it. Anyway, so that was fine. She weaned herself pretty much at 10 months old, and then once she was weaned, I immediately saw weight. You know, I was doing the same. I was still eating healthy. I would go for this big walk every single day with her in the stroller, like up and down hills. And then suddenly within a couple weeks, I just lost a lot of weight, like probably 10 pounds right away. So, which was interesting for me because I couldn't lose weight while I was nursing. I only lost weight when she was weaned. Okay, now fast forward to my third kid, who I got pregnant with on the Nova ring. So it was great and everything. And by the third kid, like I was just like, I'm fat. Like I didn't notice any major weight loss, nothing. I just, which was fine. I was 3 kids deep. I was just a big, mommy to kids, and I loved it, and it was great. And I really didn't care about my weight. But I definitely, once she was weaned, I was like, okay, well, I need to go like the strongest form of birth control, because I knew that like I seemed to have a tendency to get pregnant on birth control. So then, but I also at that point was like, well, I don't really want to mess with hormones anymore. So I got the copper IUD. I got that placed in. And that was not a fun experience for me at all. And my body really did not regulate or react well to that. I ended up bleeding so heavily and so profusely that it actually was hindering my day-to-day life. It was hindering my work. I would have to be at work events where I was at long stretches, where I was working or in the field and I couldn't get to a bathroom or that kind of thing. And because I was bleeding so intensely and profusely and heavily, I literally couldn't function. So I think it was about 2 years I dealt with that. And I was completely exhausted. I just felt so depleted. I'm already anemic, and to be bleeding that much and that long. And it was mainly on periods, but each period was a lot longer than a normal period. And then I'd get a period to me, it seemed like every 2.5 weeks. And then the type of bleeding that a tampon and a Kotex, sorry, this is TMI, this is really only for women and girls who understand what this is like. But I was bleeding through everything. It was very unpleasant. So then I went back to my doctor and I was like, look, this is not working out very well. I mean, I didn't get pregnant in those 2 years, but it was just too hard. So then they were like, well, why don't you try the Mirena, which has, the low, they really emphasize low dose of hormones, and, you end up not even having a period, and it's like sunshine and rainbows. And so they lured me in, and I was like, that sounds amazing. Let me try that. Especially since the period was what I was trying to escape. So they put that one in, and the initial, putting that one in was very intense. Oh my, it literally felt like I was in labor. The type of, I hesitate to even say cramps, because it was like contractions. I felt like my body suddenly was because they stick it right up in your uterus, and I don't know what it is, because I feel like the copper IUD, I didn't have that much pain. Maybe I'd given birth more recently. But with the Mirena, when they put that in, I felt like I was going into labor afterwards. Just driving home, I almost didn't make it. All the blood drained from my face. I was white and shaking, and the breathing you do when you're in labor, it felt like that, and I was shaking, and it was a contraction. The contractions were really intense. And that's what it felt like to get the Mirena IUD inserted. Anyways, after a couple weeks, that pain went away, and I was pretty happy on the Mirena IUD. And I will have had my Mirena IUD for 5 years now. So it's up in a month. In those 5 years, though, little things, was slow and creepy, but just different things started to deteriorate in my health. I started having a ton more allergies. I started having a lot of symptoms of chronic inflammation, including gut issues and all this kind of stuff. So I went on this big quest to get my health back in order and my health back in shape. And it really took a lot of time and effort. And what's interesting is I would see different doctors and stuff, and they would tell me things like, your liver seems like it's really overloaded, like your liver's working really hard, and you have chronic inflammation and all these symptoms. But I never really, would have thought that it had anything to do with my IUD. Anyways, after a ton of research, I've found that there are a lot of studies that are linking the chronic inflammation, all that kind of stuff to IUDs, because basically what happens when you have an IUD, any kind of IUD, is your body suspects it as a foreign object. So your body works really, really, really hard to try and expel this thing, but of course they're not going to be able to. So apparently your immune system is working really hard and it's working overtime, so it starts to weaken your immune system. Or another side effect of a weakened immune system is where it's like an overstimulated, where, with the allergies, I feel like it, where it's like they're attacking anything, like there's confusion. They don't, your body starts to kind of come out of balance, and then it's just like a lot of confusion. So I know that I was definitely having a lot of those symptoms. And then as far as my IUD, which was the Mirena, which is a dosage, well, they say it's a low dosage, but basically what it does is it completely stops your natural hormonal cycle, and it stops ovulation. Like, it stops your ovaries from releasing their eggs, if I got that right. I'm not 100% sure. So they say it's a low dose, but I mean, it can't be that low because it basically completely disrupts your reproductive cycle. You end up not even having a period, all that kind of stuff, which if you're going to talk to like a homeopathic doctor or any naturalist or anything like that, they would say that that's not a good thing. Periods actually are really your body's way of kind of cleaning and purging stuff. So the other thing, which I found really interesting, was before I ever did any research on the IUD, doctors had told me that it looked like my liver was not doing so well. Like it was, overrun and overladen with toxins and all this kind of stuff. And I remember thinking, that's so weird, because I eat very healthy. I'm a pretty healthy person. I drink wine on occasion. I'm not a heavy drinker. Like, you always think of people with liver damage as, having big alcohol problems or whatever. So I remember always questioning that. And then in my research, what they said is any kind of hormonal birth control, it's synthetic. So it's like they use progestin and estrogen, and those are synthetic hormones that are literally concocted in a lab. So it is a bunch of chemicals. And because you're releasing these strong, powerful chemicals into your body, your liver basically becomes overrun trying to filter out these synthetic hormones. And then suddenly I was like, wow, that explains why doctors would tell me like my liver's all funky. I've been on this hormonal birth control off and on for about 17 years. So that's one of the main reasons I ended up deciding I want to get my IUD out. I just don't want to deal with that anymore. The other thing with the whole immune system, it weakens your immune system. Like, your body's constantly fighting to get rid of this foreign object. I feel like my whole entire health has slowly but surely started to deteriorate. And then there's other things, like people say a lot of times, like with the Mirena, it's slow. It's not like this instant thing, but they end up gaining a good amount of weight that's very hard to shed. And that definitely was the case for me. And I mean, I'm not getting rid of the Mirena IUD because I'm like, oh, I'm too fat and I don't, I want to lose weight. Honestly, that's not the reason I would do that. Like, to me, weight is not one of the biggest issues, but I feel like this IUD has really been debilitating my health. Like, I feel like, it's been slowly You know, my allergies were getting worse, my pain was getting worse, my chronic inflammation, just like every year, seemed to get worse. My immune system, all that kind of stuff. So for me, that's the reason why I'm gonna get my IUD removed. Now, because of my history of having of getting pregnant on so many different forms of birth control, I am very nervous, because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try and use just like a family planning type tracker, where I'm gonna try and track fertile days and not fertile days. So I am hoping that this goes well and I don't end up pregnant. But here's the thing. I almost would rather get pregnant again than to see my health decline the way I feel it has been. I have not felt just normal and really good or healthy or even back to what I knew my body to be for a while, and I would love to get back there. Like, I would love to feel like I'm in optimal health. Not like I'm like super sick or miserable, but there's just been a lot of things, like there's been chronic pain, there's been a lot of inflammation, all that kind of stuff. So, which is crazy, because I feel like the least of my worries right now is getting pregnant, which is crazy. Anyways, but to be totally honest with you guys, I am nervous. I'm super nervous. I'm scheduled to get my IUD out next Monday. So I have been doing all kinds of research. I have been looking up all kinds of stuff. The other thing I'm super nervous about and scared about is my hormones. I'm super nervous that my hormones are just going to be completely out of whack once I take my IUD out, which they probably are. Like, I haven't had a period, or a decent period to speak of, in about 5 years. I've been on this for a long time. So I'm really nervous. I'm nervous about getting all the hormonal acne and all that kind of stuff. But I feel like it's a risk worth taking. But I've been really looking and researching ways to help me. They call it Mirena crash, like when you go off of these hormonal things. So, and I wanted to share some of this with you in case anyone's thinking about getting their IUD off. And I might make another video a little bit more, like, not this whole long story. But basically, they say if you get a bioidentical progesterone, not progestin, progesterone cream, and you can use that, your body absorbs that, and that can really help with easing the symptoms of going off your birth control right away, because it can be a shock to your body. Your body's been receiving powerful synthetic hormones for so long, and then suddenly you stop. So the progesterone cream is supposed to really help you kind of ease into that, and they recommend doing that for at least 3 months. This whole process is like a process of patience, because you're really gonna have to wait for your body to just readjust. I mean, it's sad, but like I've been doing, you know, with this birth control and all that kind of stuff, you're kind of really interrupting your body's natural working cycles. So I'm gonna bring you guys on this journey. I know that other moms probably, you know, have similar things, or you don't wanna be on birth control anymore, but you're nervous to go off of it like I've been. But I'm gonna risk it. I'm gonna try it. So I've ordered all this stuff. I've got like this kit ready for me when I pull that thing out. And one of those is the progesterone cream. The other thing that they say, let me look really quickly at my notes. There's definitely herbal supplements and support that help you. Oh, and the other thing they say is really important when you're going off of the hormonal birth control is to clean your liver. To clean your liver of all those synthetic hormones, because your liver is going to be overrun and overtaxed from working so hard to try and get rid of these powerful synthetic hormones. So that's one thing I'm really going to work on doing. And one of the best natural ways to do that, to cleanse your liver, is with milk thistle. So I've got my milk thistle, I've ordered that. So I'm gonna be working on that. And then there's a couple other natural herbs and supplements that can really help to rebalance your whole endocrine system and help you start ovulating again and just get back into the normal rhythm of hormones and your normal reproductive rhythm. So one of those is Vitex. It's a herbal supplement, and basically it helps support the hormonal feedback loop, and it's shown to promote regular ovulation. And from the research I've done, they're saying that you want to use it for about 6 to 12 months to get you back into like a regular cycle. Now, the second herb that I've heard is really good, and I don't know if I know how to pronounce it. It's called Tribulus terrestin. Is that right? I'll put the label and links to the vitamins that I ordered in the link in the description below. But this also helps to begin the ovulation cycle. And they have a study where apparently like 67% of women who started taking this started ovulating again normally and naturally within like 6 months. So a lot of women, when they go off hormonal birth control, it takes years to even get a normal period back again. So, and then the third supplement is Maca powder. So I've ordered some of that, and I'm gonna, hopefully that does well. Basically, they say it's one of the best supportive tonics for the whole endocrine system, which is the system that actually controls all of our hormones. And produces hormones. So when you go off birth control, basically your body is not able to produce progesterone because you've been feeding it that so much that your body stops making it. So the maca is going to help rebalance all that. It's going to help your hormones produce what they're supposed to produce and balance you out again. And that's about it. I'm going to have to give myself a little bit of space. I'm going to have to remember that I might be off for a bit. I might feel unbalanced. I might feel a bit moody, all that kind of stuff. But just remember that my body's working really hard now over the next couple months, hopefully not too long, to rebalance me. So this is the little journey I'm going on. I'm getting it out on Monday, and then I will give you guys an update when I can, just to let you know how I'm feeling, if it's helped, which of the herbs and supplements make me feel better, and if I've lost weight, any of that stuff. So hopefully this is going to work out well, and I will be able to just work on my health and get my health back to optimal condition. And wish me luck. All right, have a great day. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below, and I will link all the herbs, supplements, and vitamins that I'm going to be using specifically for this journey of rebalancing my hormones. All right, that was it. Bye. Have a great day.